Welcome back to CTV News Channel. I'm Jennifer Burke. And a warning, some of the visuals in this next story would be quite disturbing to some people. Conservationists are sounding the alarm after hundreds of elephants suddenly died in Botswana. Local experts there say more than 360 elephants have mysteriously died over the past 3 months. An investigation is underway, but so far no cause of death has been determined. For more, I want to bring in Niall McCann. He's the Conservation Director of National Park Rescue. He joins me from Cardiff in Wales. Hello, Niall.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. This has been an ongoing story. So what do we know about the situation surrounding the deaths of these elephants so far?
So far, all that we are aware of is that from early March, 1 or 2 elephants has kind of turned up dead with no explanation. And then in mid-May, a group of conservationists did a flight over the area and they counted 169 carcasses, which set alarm bells ringing, as you can imagine. A month later, it became apparent that the government hadn't sent any of the samples from those carcasses off to labs to find out what the cause was. And so another flight was taken, during which almost 200 more carcasses were discovered, bringing the total to in the region of 360, with many more elephants wandering around looking confused or disoriented and struggling with their motor function.
So could it be poachers? Has that been ruled out? What about poison or COVID even? What are the theories?
We can't rule out poachers entirely. So what it definitely isn't, it isn't poachers with guns or spears.
Right.
But poachers in that part of the continent often use poison to try and kill large numbers of elephants at one time. But those poisons tend to be things like cyanide that then have secondary effect on scavengers. So anything that would feed on the carcass would also be found dead. And we're not seeing that. It's only the elephants that are dying. So my guess is that it's probably one of two things. It's probably either a pathogen, so a disease, could even be COVID, I wouldn't want to rule that out, but there are a few other things that are potentially more likely, or it's a poison which doesn't then have a secondary effect on other animals.
Are they missing their tusks, though? I mean, isn't that what the poachers are going after?
They are going after the tusks, principally, although a lot of poachers locally also go after meat. But in this case, what you've got is hundreds of elephants killed over a very large area. And after 2 or 3 weeks, the bodies have decomposed to a stage where you can basically walk up and just pull the tusks out of their face. Before that, you need to use a chainsaw or a heavy axe, which can attract a lot of attention to where you are. So some poachers like to do this. They delay. If they've killed enough, they'll find a carcass anyway, and the ivory is now much easier to collect.
This is just horrific. How much worse could this get in terms of what this means for Botswana's elephant population and also the ecosystem, Niall?
Well, I think that's a really important point, because Botswana has 1/3 of all the elephants remaining in Africa. So that global population is very heavily represented by a single country. And the region that we're talking about here, in the Okavango, in the northwest of the country, has about 10% of Botswana's total. So as we stand, we've already lost 1,000th of the elephants that are left. That's it, gone, already gone. And the prospect of losing a 10th of Botswana's herd is very real, which is catastrophic on a global scale.
I'm almost out of time. What's the government doing?
They are now sending samples to some reputable labs. I know one of the labs myself. But what I would really implore them to do is to invite a team of international experts in to thoroughly test the area, take those samples back to the labs and then do the analysis there. And that's the only way through that level of transparency that I think we can really prove exactly what's happening.
It is a fascinating and disturbing story. I do appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now